My birth did not go as planned. I was planning to have a home birth and ended up with a almost emergency C-section. So let me give you my birth story. And hopefully this is helpful because I was the person before this who said I would never have a C-section. Guess what I ended up doing? I'm not even mad because my baby is happy and healthy. It was honestly the right decision for me. I was planning on having a home birth. In California, you can only have a home birth up to 42 weeks, and baby boy was taking his time. I went into labor 41 weeks and 6 days, running out the clock already. I went into labor at 4:45 in the morning. I was having contractions. Some of my water broke, but not the full thing. Kind of just felt like intense period cramps, but they were manageable. Until about 7 o'clock in the evening, they started getting really intense. I had really bad back labor. I have literally never experienced anything so painful in my life. My midwife came over and then she checked me about 11:30 and I was only dilated to a 2.5, 3. I was gonna have to go to the hospital anyway. By the time we got to the hospital, I was in so much pain. I got an epidural, I got some rest. Every time my contractions would progress, his heart rate would dip. So we would kind of go back and forth. His heart rate dipping, 3 to 4 nurses flooding into the room. This happened like 4 or 5 times, maybe even more than that. At 1 p.m. the next day, monitors went off. This time 15 people flooded into the room. They had checked me right before this. I was still at a 3. This was intense. They started to try and turn me over, change positions. His heart rate was dropping. They told me if his heart rate does not come back up, and then they were gonna have to rush me into the OR and potentially do an emergency C-section. They did have to cart me off into the OR. He felt like I was in Grey's Anatomy. We got to the OR. He did stabilize and they gave me the option. They were like, you can go back into the other room, keep trying, hoping that things progress. If this happens again, if he keeps dipping, then we're gonna have to cart you back into the OR again and potentially have an emergency C-section. And at that point, I was so exhausted. I could barely keep my eyes open. I was like, if I am dilated and go into active labor, I don't know how I'm gonna have the energy to push because they wouldn't let me eat anything. And so at that point I was like, let's just do the C-section so that he comes out safely. I truly believe that I made the right call. I didn't want anything to go wrong. Now he's here, happy, healthy, and safely. And my biggest lesson in all this is you do not get a gold star for pushing through the pain and risking the potential health and safety of your child just to prove a point that modern medicine is like the enemy. So yeah, that's my birth story, and ended up in a C-section, and everything happens for a reason.